Ian here, Lala 67. That's good. This is going to be a series of videos. It's still going to be a part of Russell Gosselin D-Day group build, but it's going to kind of focus on the building of the base for the King Tiger. I'm still in two minds if I'm going to use this or not, but I think I'll make a good tutorial, because I was asked a couple of months ago would I do it, and I said I would, and I don't like I don't like stringing people along, so I'm going to say I'm going to do it. So I have everything laid out here what I'm going to use. So first thing I'm going to talk about the base. The base is blue insulation foam. You can find this anywhere. You go into your DIY shop, you can go online and buy pre-cut A4 sheets. It's two pieces glued with wood glue together. You can see this this wooden edging, and this is actually going to act as a reservoir for the water effects when we come to do them. It was simply cut and sanded, so it's very easy to shape it. So a razor saw and a junior hacksaw, which I can pull them out. So it was cut the shape using these two. So your razor saw and junior hacksaw. And then some heavy grit sandpaper for cutting channels. And as you can see, I've put the footprint of the tank into the base. I don't know how well you can see that. There you go. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna put that out the way. There's different ways of doing groundwork. Some people can use wall plaster or wall putty, or sculpting plaster like this from Woodland Scenics. This is a good enough product, but I don't really like using it for this type of stuff. It can be a little bit hard to control, and you can't really make impressions. So we'll be using this air dry clay, just wrapped in cling film. It cracks a little bit, but it can be touched up easily, you know. So that's what we're going to be using. This is just this is pretty inexpensive. It's not as good as the stuff that Michael or Hanakar uses, but it does a job, and it's never let me down. And then there's this watered down PVA glue or wood glue. So you're going to need wood glue and a watered down version. So I just pre-made this up. Okay, now for adding texture and rocks, I have various ballasts, a bit of kitty litter thrown into it, and that would be applied as we need it. Various flocks. So this is from Woodland Scenics. I have another type of flock as well that I won't be using for this one. So like having different flocks helps. And then what you can do is you can make your own blend. So I could take a little pinch of this, mix this in, just to add a little bit of tonal differences. Remember, grass is in one colour. We'll also be using tufts. They're kind of gone now, but you can see they're kind of small little grass tufts from wargaming. And then finally, probably the most complex element of this, where most can go wrong, will be this. Still water from Vallejo. This has fucked me up on every time I've used it in the past, and let's hope it doesn't repeat. So much so I'm actually going to leave the model somewhat loose on the base until I know it dries and dries okay. But as long as you do this in thin layers, it should be okay. So that's what we're going to be doing. So the first part is just kind of talking you through. So that's fine. So I'm just going to clear away some of this, and we'll start. Depending on how messy you want to be, you can mix PVA glue into the clay to make it adhere better, but we're not going to do that. Not for any reason in particular. I'm actually going to take out two gloves because I don't want to ruin my hands. This stuff is not toxic, but just want to be putting gloves on and off, because if I have to handle the model, I don't want to get this clay on the model, so I'm going to so this is going to be a bit of a long video, but I want it to be as thorough as in the methods I use. I'm not going to say like I'm a great diorama maker. There's plenty of other good diorama makers out there like Carlos, Mendes, Cone C, Haneker, Barkus. They're all well worth watching. This is just one different style of doing it. So again, a bit here. Okay. Let's take some of it out. There it is. There it is. So, and it doesn't have to be too neat. Let's push it in. Actually, if it doesn't adhere, this is what you do. Score it. So if your clay is not adhering to the surface, just by just simply scoring it with your hobby knife, that should give you some purchase. Okay, I'll try it. It should help us now, and if not, we shall just get around it. See, and all you do is just push into your model, run your fingers over the edge, and what happens is you begin to cut away. So nice and neat. If you need to sculpt this in any way, just dampen your fingers. Actually, I should have really done. Yeah. If you slightly dampen your fingers and then mix it, it kind of makes it a little bit more tacky. So it should actually adhere to your core of your base, if you will, and just stop it. It's going to crack anyway. It's unavoidable. It's an air dry material, so these always tend to contract, and as they contract, they crack. But we shan't be too upset about that, because we just come back with a bit of putty or a bit of clay at a later stage, and we touch up. So you can kind of see it's a slow business. Normally it doesn't fight me as much as this. Of course I act the maggot for the camera, but that's just the way it goes. Okay. There we go. Then dampen your finger, and this is the handy thing. Is if you dampen your finger and run your finger over the clay, it's very handy to help blend everything in together. You don't have to make it too thick. Now, but bear in mind, this foam is it'll react to solvent. So if you hit this with super glue, it will melt straight through it. So use water-based products only. You know what I mean? I've never had any problem with water-based stuff before, and for good reason. Now, here's another little trick. If you're really having a lot of problems getting your clay to sit on the model, take yourself an old brush. Here's our watered down PVA, and just go to town on it. We're going to be doing this either way to seal in the layers, but there's no harm in doing this now. It just gives you a bit of an adhesive surface for your stuff to hang on to. So leave that there. Actually, it's not too good of an idea to have that so close to my computer, but as long as we're careful, we'll be okay. Now I'm moving into the footprint of the vehicle. Now what I'm actually trying to do is I'm trying to imagine where the track sits, which is here. So I'm going to try to keep that as flat and as uninterrupted as possible, but building up in other places. Everybody puts track links in, which is fine, you can do that. But bear in mind, depending on how hard baked the ground is, even with a 64-ton tank as a fucking King Tiger is, actually I think it's a little bit heavier. Don't quote me on how heavy the King Tiger is, I can't think of it right now. If the ground is very warm, as when it's been a hot summer, you're going to more just like dig in the thoroughfare rather than the leave a track mark. So I'm not too concerned about that. So, okay. So you can see how pliable and how easy this is to work with. So if you use like a wall filler, or a ready mix wall filler, which in many ways are just as good, they're a bit more messy, and you can't really I wouldn't really recommend using your fingers that much with them because you just destroy yourself, and I imagine a lot of them are kind of toxic because most of them kind of seem to be solvent based. So there we go, just applying again, trying to keep this line here to be somewhat smooth so I have a point to mount my tracks into. It takes some time for these to set, so again, you don't want to be pushing yourself too fast, just do it in layers. As you can see how I'm working, I get a small ball of clay and I apply. So I was actually speaking of dioramas, I was watching Cohen C's BT7 update, and I have to say, Michael, that is one hell of a cool idea. That is so cool, I love it. Now, since we're doing this, we're going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to come back to Cohen C's build out in a moment, I just thought of this now. I'm actually going to coat this area here with PVA, and this is going to act as a sealant. There we go. So yes, that's just act as a sealant just in case if we spray any enamels, it just acts as a block so it doesn't get down into the porous foam beneath. So yes, so Cohen said did, I think it was like yesterday I believe, he put up a video about his BT7 buddy build entry and the diorama in which he's going to be using, and I have to say that is such a cool diorama. It's basically, if anyone, or I'm sure you've all seen it, anyone who watches my channel is most likely subscribed to Cohen C as well, and if you're not, you should be, because he's a fabulous model maker, unreal guy, and you can learn a lot from him. He basically is doing a Leningrad diorama with like a Panzer III N or M passing a knocked out BT7 like with the crew, like the driver basically was trying to bail out of the vehicle and got killed in the process. Bit of a grisly thing. It's also a bit of a debatable thing in model making. I mentioned it before, way back when I started my channel, of the debates of how guys don't on one rivet counter site, aka Armorama, and they're very quick to criticise each other on that site anyway. So, but some people don't like adding dead and wounded into dioramas. I personally think it happens and it adds a sense of narrative and tells the truth. Like, this is what happened. Like, these tanks weren't there for show; they were there to kill the people, and a lot of people got killed in them. So he's done an unreal diorama layout, very poignant, tells a great story. So I'm looking forward to that. So looking forward to seeing how that goes, Michael. Keep up the great work, mate, because you're off to a winner there, man. You're on to a winner. So as you can see, it's a bit messy, But this is, again, none of this is bad for you, so you're not going to worry about it, unless you have like maybe allergic reaction to some shit in this. But again, this is all like clay, so it's non-toxic. As you can see, it's kind of forming up, and you can still see the two channels for the tracks. And I just keep damping my fingers and keep re-moistening the area. Just keep sculpting. As simple as that. It's not a particularly difficult thing to do. Like diorama making can be intimidating, but it's not actually as difficult as it appears. It's actually more so. Sorry about that. My card ran out of memory, so I have a new card in now, and we're moving swiftly on. So a lot of people find dioramas a little bit intimidating, and understandably too, but they're not actually all that difficult. The thing about diorama making, and I've made a few in my day, some better than others, as in some of the dioramas that I've made have been better than some of the dioramas I've made in the past. So it depends on the topic. Like sometimes I can be a bit lazy and just make a basic base, which I don't always see as a diorama has to tell a story in my mind, and like and it can be a lone vehicle sitting rusting away that tells a story. Also dioramas give you a sense of context. You know what I mean? It helps you like create a mental narrative of what these vehicles did. But they're not as difficult to make and make well as many people believe so. Or maybe many new model makers might be a bit intimidated by them. Well, you shouldn't be, because the only real thing that's difficult in diorama making is your patience. If you're an impatient person, you're going to struggle with diorama making. That's your only thing you're going to find, because no, it takes time. It's labor intensive. It's messy too, and you kind of have so like if you just want to have your model done quickly, then making a diorama may not be what you're looking for, because you'll want to do it fast. You'll get annoyed. When you get annoyed with one of these things, you're going to make mistakes, and it's just going to turn into a very vicious cycle. So again, I'm just going to mix a bit of PV into this. I'm just trying to create a little bit of a lip coming down into this little ditch here. And you can actually see how it's actually just moulding with my finger. There's nothing to it, gents and ladies. I was actually going to make a video about this, but I actually just noticed something, how few women there are in our community. There's plenty of female painters like Girl Painting, The Real Metro, Oasis Rising, Wargamer Girl, all them. But when it actually comes to the scale modelling side of things, I haven't seen that many. And I was checking my analytics, and I used to have 15% women watching my sites, which, hello ladies, getting their weekly fix of their favourite crazy Irishman. But I was kind of thinking that obviously there has to be female builders, female painters, and there, as the names I've mentioned. But I was just kind of wondering that, especially again the female girls who watch or women who watch my channel, like if you are builders, but please join. Like don't allow all the boys to have all the fun. It'd be good to get some voices of reason as well. So like I was just thinking that, you know what I mean, I always wonder, why do even girls who are model makers tend to stay away from, is it because it's such a male orientated thing, like, you know? And I think it can be only a good thing to have women model makers with us, you know what I mean, 'cause they are there, like, you know, and it just adds another element of fairness and different opinion and different way of seeing things, different skills, everything. I don't mean like that, like as in like model makers regardless if they're men or women, but more so just like different personality to modeling. And if there are any women, please women or girl model makers out there, please join this community. It's a good community. You're not going to be felt you're not going to be made to feel that, you know what I mean, that your opinion or your skills are any way, like, not appreciated. What, you know what I mean? By the way, the guys will go out of their way to welcome them. It's just something I was thinking about, and like, if anyone knows any girls, you know, who are painters or model makers, and I'm sure some of us probably do try to encourage them to maybe set up a channel. I know I'd love to see it. And no, not because it's not because it's a girl, but just, you know what I mean. It's just nice to see it. It adds a lot of balance, I feel. So yeah, that's just my little 2 cents on that, you know. So if you're out there, please join. You know what I mean? You're not going to have any negative experiences. So, my little weird rant aside, so that's really it. Today was a good enough day. It turned a bit bleak in the end of the day, as it does here in Ireland a lot. So as you can, went out training twice. One of my friends came out. She wanted to go training with me, and then I took up a large hill that we train on, and I half killed her. You know what I mean? It half kills me too, but I just pretend it doesn't. But yeah, so got 2 training sessions. My own one done in the morning, and then when my mate who wanted to, or my friend who wanted to, it's kind of weird calling one like one of your female friends a mate. You know, it's such a masculine thing, I know. But yeah, that was that. And then the weather got very nasty, and we just literally missed the rain by about 10 minutes. We literally got on the door and started raining. So now I just need to work this down, because I want to make sure my tracks sit. So there we go. Basic tracks now. I'm going to put on my gloves. So I need to handle the model. I don't want to just ruin all the work I put into it by getting big, dirty, bloody clay stains on the model. Don't really care about tracks. So again, we position our model, or which way does this way? Yeah, like so. Make sure I can get this, because again, it's important that we make the model sit in the base as much as possible. Okay. Doesn't really. So what I'm going to do is I need to build up a little bit of rise. I'm just going to try to press the tracks down so I get an idea where it's sitting. I need to build up here, because I got a bit of a gap. So, and that's what you do. You constantly check back your model. Now I should have cut actual chamfers or channels into the foam, but I didn't really think of it at the time. It's a bit late now, but the hell with it, we can just keep working. So again, we moisten the area with our PVA mix, helping keep everything, and this should also kind of act as a bit of a binder too, and it should help reduce how much it retracts or contracts. Okay, so again, trying to keep where the tracks lie, as in the imprint of tracks at all times, because we don't want to obstruct the model too much. So I can kind of see that the track impressions go off this way, so I'm going to add a bit more here. Now I don't really like, some people will build a diorama base in tandem with the model, which is perfectly fine, you know what I mean, it's a very efficient way of making it, whereas I actually prefer to do my model first, to do basic weathering, as I don't want to weather up my model completely, and then when I sit on the base, like their environmental weathering, it doesn't match up. So it's always good to know that if you're building your model not in tandem, remember what weathering products you use, and make sure you incorporate them into your base to make sure that it just helps tie both the model and base together. Because bear in mind, this is the environment in which the model, in the way that we're displaying it, is weathered. Remember, it's weathered in its environment. Okay, so I'm just going to keep building up this little area here. And bear in mind, this tank would have slid down a bit too, so I'm going to build up a little bit of a... kind of the earth being pushed back. Again, so it is a little bit messy, but it's not too bad. Again, we're just trying to blend everything in. Like there literally is a million ways of doing diorama bases, and none of them are wrong and none of them are right. The only person you're trying to convince is yourself. So if it looks right, 9 times out of 10 it's right. If it looks wrong, well then you might want to go back and just experiment a little bit. But don't be scared to experiment. This foam, this clay is very cheap, so you could always just, if you're kind of a little bit unsure of how to compose a diorama, and it's always good to have your diorama, your model offset a little bit, and a slight slope or multi-level. It just adds, like, I'm not having to go anyone who just puts the stuff on a simple base. That's fine if it's, you know what I mean. But I always find, and from all the literature I've read on diorama making, and I do agree that the more levels you have in your diorama, the more visual interest you have. Thus, the more visual interest the viewer has to enjoy your model. And ultimately, this is why we build our diorama, both for our own enjoyment, but also for the enjoyment of the viewer. You know what I mean? So you can see the little rise I've done now. A little bit hard to see, but it is there. So I've done a rise just coming in here to kind of help maybe give the impression of the earth being dislodged, if you will, and being pushed by the weight of the vehicle sliding down this slight hill or this incline. You know, you often see photographs of tanks when they're knocked out, they're just pushed down into the ditch to get them out of the way. Because bear in mind, like roads back then were nowhere near as wide as they are now, and having a 60-odd ton roadblock in the middle of the second road is not necessarily a good thing. So you used to push them down at the thing, and I'm actually going to be doing some cool dioramas with the models Andrew you send me. I intend to try to make dioramas out of all of them, because I don't need that much space to display them. And I want to try my hand doing a few knocked out vehicles, which in my opinion is some of the hardest things a model maker can do. And it kind of seems to be kind of fashionable now, because Haneker is doing it, Cohen is doing it, I'm doing it on this. So you know what I mean, like, so there's actually a lot of knocked out armour being built at the moment, which is great, because that is an art discipline in itself. The destruction of a model rather than the construction. Now, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to add a little bit of clay into here. I don't want the clay to be too deep here at all. I just want it to, I only want this little area here to have water in it really. Now, I imagine this is boring most of you to death, but I hope at least a few of you who are kind of curious or want to see different ways of doing dioramas, I hope this is proving to be at least interesting. You know, I'm not an expert, because none of us are. You know what I mean? We're just keen amateurs in the end, and this is just my way, and I've been using this way for many years, and I've always kind of got pretty okay results, you know. So like I'd always recommend is that, like, you know, you watch this video, then you go over to Cohen, watch some of his videos, go over to Michael, watch some of his videos, go over to Carlos, watch some of their videos, go over to Model Pro, watch his diorama base with his universal carrier, and what you do is, that way you're actually getting various ways, and then you take the elements you like the most. So in order, like the techniques, you go, oh that's cool, like, you know, if you see like a technique and you think it's a good idea, so you just take from each video or each style that you like, and you make your own style, which is all about the fun of model making. Now, on come the gloves again, so it's going to be another couple of minutes of me struggling trying to get these damn things on. Fucking rubber gloves, cheers, just get on, there we go. If you shout out your gloves enough times, they come on. So, again, we bring up our tank, and we try to see how it sits, being careful not to damage the model, because it can be quite easy to damage them. Again, I'm going to make some little adjustments. There we go. So now we can see. Now what I'm doing is I'm pushing the soil, or the clay should I say, back up to make it sit close to the tracks. Over here I'm going to do the same. Okay. And I'm going to do a little mark to see where do the tracks stop. So stop here. Now, so I noticed something, because there was no opposable track or opposable suspension, there's a bit of a gap in how the tank sits, so I'm actually going to hide that by bridging this little part here. Model making is all about just hiding your mistakes. That's actually, in my mind, what makes a good model maker, is your ability just to dress things up and make what you perceive to be a mistake less apparent. And like, God, I make a lot of mistakes in my models, like, you know what I mean. I have a joke to myself that it wouldn't be one of my builds unless I break something or lose something. And I think that's the same with most model makers. So yeah. So we can see how she sits. And it sits a bit well. I need to hide a little bit of a gap in the track where a piece of it snapped. But that's actually, I'm actually going to put a little bit of dirt over that, but that's going to be done at the end. So now, just fine. I'm going to put her model away nice and safe. I got a bit of clay on it, but she's sealed, so I'm just going to wash it off. Now, a good thing to do now at this point would be to just take your hobby knife, dip it in water, and to just run on with its own weight and just cut any excess clay off, just for like the presentation of your model. It doesn't have to be clean, because remember, your modeling ground isn't uniform. Basically, there we go. Alternatively, you can let this set and just let it and just let it dry, and then sand it back any overlaps that go up to the edge of the base. So that's that element of it done. So that took what, 20 odd minutes. A little bit longer, I think, about 30. Now because we have the clay is nice and damp and wet, we're going to add some stones, not many, less is more. I have a big, that's kitty litter, and I have different grades of ballast. So like normally what I do is I just pick some random ones that look kind of scale correct, and because the mud is wet, I just impregnate them. So push them in, impress them into the model. Dab of white glue to help cement it. And there we go. I'm just do this way. So you don't need to do too much rocks. Like I tend not to put too much in the form of stones and stuff like that, because really when it comes to stones, less is more. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm trying to find little kind of flat kind of rocks that kind of would be kind of surface rock. And it's another something here. Okay. Some smaller ballast here and there. We don't want to push them in too deep, just enough to kind of keep them away from the areas where the actual tracks are going to sit, because we don't want them to obstruct. And these are a little bit, this grit is slightly too big for what I need. I could have fired smaller grit somewhere, which I can't find it, but of course, I don't want this video being about me trying to find bloody stones. That way. And just kind of push. And we shall add some here as well. And some here. Not that many. As you can see, it's quite quite sparsely applied. So I'm not really deeming to put too much in the form of rock, just a little bit, just to add a small bit of visual interest. Of course, this part's completely up to you. You can go mad here if you wanted. Like, again, just push and then just literally, because this is watered down, we can drown them in or flood them in white glue, and this is going to help stop them from falling out. And once this is done, we're going to get them a few other coats as well. This is a nice simple base. It's nothing too elaborate, you know. I have a pretty elaborate 72 scale diorama coming up. I was telling Carlos about it. He knows about it. I think I have it's to do with King Tigers. I'm at least going to have 3 more projects with King Tigers, because I really like the King Tiger, and I'm trying to base them either on photographs or like imagination. So this big diorama is going to be imagination. I'm going to try to make it as accurate as I can, as much as I'm comfortable to do. Do you know what I mean? Because like, I like being as accurate as possible, but within reason or within my bounds of enjoyment. Now, so this is the first part. So this is going to be left to dry overnight. When we come back in the morning, I guarantee you this is going to be cracked here and there, but hopefully the white glue will help just to... I'm just applying it here and there just to add a bit of strength to it. So the next step now will be to seal off the models. I'm actually going to apply a lot here. I'll probably hit it with another coat when this dries. Hopefully the weather will be warm, so it will dry pretty quick. If not, I'll just have to stick it under a bloody hair dryer for a little bit. So there we go. Nice simple base. So you can kind of see, now we can kind of have a better idea of the slope. So like, we always kind of want to have multi-layers, have the facial offset, maybe the third traversed or elevated or whatever. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to do our best through the diorama base, 1, to make it look natural, and 2, to extenuate the lines of the facial. We want to draw the modeler and the viewer into the facial to get them to explore it more. So a lot of people see these as a means to just display the model. See these as a means of... See these on the same level as the model. So if you put like say 19 hours of work into your model, well, you kind of want to be putting an equal level of attention into your diorama, even if it's a simple diorama like this. You know, don't cut corners to it. Just give it the same level of attention and TLC that you give your model, and the end result will actually really bring your model and add a lot to your model. It'll really make it stand out in the best of ways. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. Please comment and rate or whatever, and like give me your feelings or anything you feel now that I'm on the topic of diorama bases that you would like to be explained, and I'll do my best to explain it for you. So thank you so much for watching. I know this video is a bit long, but I didn't want to rush this one. So thank you for watching. Stay safe, look after each other, happy modelling, and watch out for those buses. Bye bye.